Thank you, ladies. And I'll say in a sentimental way, I think I kind of feel selfish, like I needed that song, and that song was very special to me and to our family. And I want to make a joke to say, why every stinking time I get up to preach, we have something so outstanding right before I get up to do a sermon. Every time. I'm honored to follow those holy words, and thank you for that. If you have a Bible, we're going to be in Luke chapter 15, and I want to say good morning, and we are thrilled to be a part of this church family, and on Father's Day, to be here with my father, and to worship our Father, and I feel as though I should tell you a father's story. A recent father, for all the dads out there. A few weeks back, many of you know we were a part of a musical production, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Okay. So we were thrust into this thing called a good show buddy, which is to say, if you've been in church or other organizations where you have your secret, kind of your secret sister, secret brother thing, and you draw someone's name, you're going to give them those kind of gifts, Well, the theater did this for this particular show, and there are 3 weekends of this show, and you're supposed to bring one gift every weekend for your secret buddy. I'm in this show with 4 of my children. My youngest, all 4 were in here. My youngest one at the time, Mercy, was 6. And the first 2 weekends, she did not receive anything in her special lunch sack from her good show buddy. And she was devastated. How do you counsel your 6-year-old through tears? It's going to be okay. Maybe something special is coming. Maybe they forgot. You're just trying to calm her down. Here, would you like some of my candy? And we got to the final weekend, the Friday night performance, the first night, and there in her dressing room was the most enormous bag with overflowing gifts and candy and all kinds of playthings. And as she brought this down from her dressing room to the main area where we were, and she said, Dad, look, and she's showing me, she says this thing to me. And she gets this smile on her face, and she literally does her arms like this, like a yes. She says, I knew it. She says, the waiting is worth it. And I'm suspended in time for a moment, as you do when you have those dad moments or those holy moments. And I grabbed that, not knowing what God was doing with our story and your story. And I know we can say as a family that the waiting has been worth it. It's not been easy, like raindrops, like trials, but the waiting is worth it. And I pray that through our years together, I said plural, that years together, that we, I hope we have a lot of fun together. How about that? There's what is this, candy up here? What are we doing up here? Look at this, hugs and kisses from the BCC youth. Go Broncos. Oh, man. Oh, you guys. This is me. So I want us to look this morning at a story that is a story, I think, appropriate for Father's Day, appropriate for the waiting. And it's a story you know well, but a story where maybe we overlook this particular character. Let's look at verse 11, kind of read this story together, or listen, follow along as you do. Luke chapter 15. Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the youngest son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout the country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating. No one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have bread enough and to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up, and go to my father. And I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to his father, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field, and when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. He called one of the slaves and asked, What was going on? And the servant replied, Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fatted calf because he has got him back safe and sound. And then he became angry, refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him. But he answered his father, Listen, for all these years I have been working like a servant for you, and I have never disobeyed your command, yet you have never given me even a young goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him. And the father said to him, Son, you're always with me, and all that is mine is yours, but we had to celebrate and rejoice, because this brother of yours was dead and has come to life. He was lost and has been found. Amen. So a few things to notice in this story, which you might have grown up calling the parable of the prodigal son. It's really the story of two sons, isn't it? The story of two lost sons. And what I want us to just look at this morning briefly in our time together is the father. Because the father really, perhaps we don't touch on the father as much, maybe in sermons or classes you've heard. And there's just some things to notice about the father. I've highlighted a few words. They all start with the name letter. So here we go, the same letter. The first thing I notice about the father is that you could say that he looks foolish. He looks quite foolish as a father. I mean, he let his son choose this calamity upon his life. He let his son go. And we don't know how much time passed in this story Jesus tells, but it's significant, I would imagine. And after the son is making his way back towards his father's house, the father does something incredibly foolish. I was reading about sort of this old Jewish practice we could explore another time, where you would actually, if you squandered your inheritance among the Gentiles, you were dead to the community. And they wanted you to know that you were no longer welcome. And they would try to meet you outside the city or the village where you were. And if the father knows that, if that's historical, if that's the backdrop, the historical context, and so the father knowing that in this story, Jesus describes an older man who would hike up his garments and run, showing his legs. You say, that's no big deal. Maybe you have good legs. But it's embarrassing to an older, respected Jewish man in the community. And what a sight it would have been. Because just as everyone is perhaps trailing behind this older man, wondering what is he running for, what is he up to, he meets his son on the outskirts of town. He's a long way off. And he embraces him. He's foolish to run his direction, but he's forgiving in that he embraces him, he kisses him, and just as the son is about to give his rehearsed speech, you see how he starts into that? He says, "Oh, son, I'll have none of it. Go, get a robe, get a ring, put it on his finger, and get him some shoes." Shows you how destitute he was. He's foolish. This father is forgiving for his son. But he's also fun. He's fun. He says, let's kill the fatted calf. Let us feast. Church potluck on steroids. Let us have dancing in the fellowship hall. Let us sing. Let us celebrate. The father decides we got to throw a party. And it's the right kind. It's the kind that you don't want to miss. He's foolish, he's forgiving, but he's fun, but someone's not there at this party. It's his older brother. It's his firstborn son. And so the father shows us this last part. He shows that he's faithful because he leaves the party where it's all happening and goes outside to meet the grumpy, stingy, stubborn older brother. And he offers the same grace and mercy and compassion that he has for his younger wayward son. You realize this is a story about two lost sons, not just one. He says, all that I have is yours. I want you to come inside. Come be with us. That's where the party's at. Now, I imagine the disciples, they've heard this story. And near the end of Jesus' story, Jesus' humanly story, he's here on earth, and at the Last Supper, Jesus is being so pastoral. He's praying, he's dispensing encouragement to his followers. And in John 14, something bizarre happens where one of the most respected of the followers of Jesus, one who's seen firsthand the miracles of Jesus, Philip, says, Lord, show us the Father, and we'll be satisfied. Like, I heard the story you described, the running, the forgiving, the feast, the fun, the party. Show me that Father, and, that'll be enough. I want to see a Father like that. And Jesus is just taken back at this request. He's shocked. He says, come on, Philip, I mean, you know me, right? Don't you know me? I've been among you such a long time. His response goes into things about words and works and withness. And then Jesus launches into this theological diatribe about oneness, which somehow has escaped them. And he goes on to say, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. The Father living in me is doing his best work. And Jesus has already said this earlier in John chapter 5, after the healing at the pool. He says, very truly I tell you, the Son can do nothing on his own, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likewise. And this is where this story starts to really come a little closer to our proximity. Because we do celebrate a good Father. And for some of you, you've had good fathers in an earthly sense. Some of us, maybe you haven't. And some of us are trying really hard to be good fathers today and to be godly fathers. And I want to applaud you for that. But I want to say, you don't have to be a father. You don't have to even be male to emulate this Father we read about right here. Because Jesus brings it back and he says, for all who would believe in me and the one who sent me, there's this invitation to do great things. There's this invitation to do, to speak, to do, to be Jesus in the world. That's something we can grab hold of. We say, hey, this Sunday isn't for me. No, it is for us. It's for all of us. Because the things we see in God the Father, we say, actually, we can grab hold of those and exponentially replicate those in the world. There was a story this week that really startled me when I read about it on Tuesday, and then I caught a recap of it yesterday. CBS had finally, Steve Hartman, he'd finally caught up with this story. And as you do with Steve Hartman, good news had even happened. In Aurora, Colorado, there's this 13-year-old boy named Damien. Damien has bounced around the foster care system. And one of the reasons he can't find stable living conditions is that he has a horrible kidney disease. He is on some dialysis treatment around 12 hours a day. So half of every day, he's hooked up to a machine. He's 13. He's trying to get on the transplant list, and all should be fine with that, except he can't, they won't place him on the list without a stable home that will care for his needs once the transplant's complete. So he has spent months, sometimes over a year, in a hospital room as his permanent address. And so he shows up for middle school math day one, and he meets his math teacher, and they form kind of this relationship. And as they're about a few months into the school year, and Damien says, I won't be returning to school anymore. You dropping out? He said, no, I've got to go to the hospital for a while. And the teacher, Finn Lanning, begins to ask some more questions, learns his story about dialysis, begins to visit him in the hospital, and then just says, so you're telling me all you need is a place of your own, an address to get you on the donor list, and someone to be there for you, to care for you. He said, yeah, that's it. I bounced around and people are good, but it's just hard. I know who I am. Finn says, well, I can do that. He's a mid-20s bachelor in Colorado. He has an extra bedroom. And Damien moves in with Finn. Multiple days a week, Finn has to take off work to go take him to his treatments. Teachers at the charter school where they attend are donating some of their vacation days just so he can go help him make his doctor's appointments. And the good news, as of Friday, is not only had he been placed on the donor list for a new kidney, but on Saturday they actually did the procedure. Are you kidding me? Why does that story strike me? Near the end of the interview, this 20-something, beard, cool glasses, living the bachelor life. He said, in the beginning he called me Mr. And he doesn't believe that I'm going to be there for him long term, but I'm committed the full way. He hopes to adopt him. And he said, I realize what comes with that title is something I feel I have to earn to be a father. And Steve Hartman said, no, you don't earn it, but you epitomize it. You epitomize what it means to look foolish, to show mercy someone's way. Little Damien didn't have anything that needed to be forgiven, but more, he showed mercy and compassion. Damien says, with a big grin on his face, I have my own bedroom now. How fun is that? As he gets his new kidney set in place, one of the things he's looking forward to as his diet gets better is to go have some nacho cheese, chips, and dip from 7-Eleven, because he can't have that right now. They have fun cooking together, but he can't really eat any of the food that they cook together because his diet is so limited. But he's found a home. He's found a place. Someone who showed this concern and compassion. Someone who's committing to be faithful. I think about that. You don't have to be male. You don't even have to be a dad to emulate and epitomize the best of God our Father revealed in Jesus Christ. So today we honor our fathers. We remember our fathers. We are thankful for God as our Father. And we would dare as a church, every single one of us, through all of our quirkiness and our differences, we would dare to emulate and epitomize this God, our Father. And we do that by following Jesus and being formed by Jesus. Even though we look foolish, even though there are abounding opportunities to show forgiveness and mercy for those who have trespassed against us. We are going to be a fun people. We already are. We're going to have life to the full, and we will be faithful. We're not going anywhere. We're going to sing a song of response and invitation. And it is a joy to be here and to be called into this place with you. I like Superman a lot. I think he's kind of the top superhero. But I can't be him. And I won't be him. I'm just a man. But I'm thankful to be a Jesus-y kind of man in this place and to learn and to love and to walk with you as we live out this Jesus story together. Carla and I both. Thank you for the grace you've extended our way already. We look forward to your names, learning your names and your stories and hearing where you live and meeting your children and eating some delicious, all the things. We just ask for your grace and patience as we transition here. We know we have some things to take care of. Thank you for how you've been so kind already. We'll mess up. We'll look foolish, but we will forgive. We'll have fun and we'll be faithful. Hey, some of you hope you can look past my fun shoes even this morning, right? They're for you. They're for you. And you may not always see a suit. That's okay. But we'll keep it interesting, and we'll keep it light, and we'll keep it fun. Just like Jesus. Probably another F word I could have thrown in there, flexible. We'll be flexible. But we're thankful today. We have such gratitude today. We look forward to greeting you and praying and hugging with you today. We're going to sing a song of worship and response. There is a tie that binds all of us. Christian love, Christian mercies together. I want to invite you as we sing this hymn. Let's all stand. Let's all worship our God this morning. That's awesome. Look at that. Thank you.